I'm gonna start with the little reading this evening. So take a comfortable seat on your mat, everybody, please. Sit up nice and tall. And if y'all wanna go ahead and mute your devices. And as you're sitting up nice and tall, take a few deep breaths and notice how your body feels in this newly seated position. Do your shoulders perhaps feel a little slumpy? Let shoulders soften away from your ears. And start to, your attention is fully on your breathing in the moment. And when we really tune into our breath attentively, it tends to slow down a little bit. Go with that, my friends, go with that. So as you're sitting and breathing, now is the time to stretch. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Watch a cat or a dog. See their languid stretches. Notice how much they enjoy every movement. It releases tension. Stretching flexes the spine. It tones our muscles. Exponents of yoga know the benefits. Follow their lead. So follow my lead tonight, my friends, because you're only as young as your spine is flexible. And those words, having a flexible spine, that's really going to guide our practice tonight. The thought of creating flexibility in our spine, and again, the thought of how Bobo the cat moves. So let's come on to our hands and knees. And as you balance your body on hands and knees, you're tabletop level through your spine. And from here, we get to create curves in the spine. So our first curve, I'm going to turn sideways so you see it even better. Exhale into your cat pose. So your tail curls under you a bit, the crown of your head drops down, and the back of our heart rises up nice and high. And then turn that curve the other direction. Belly dips a bit. We expand across our chest. This is cow pose. Let's come back into cat. Exhale thoroughly. And then inhale brings us back. That full inhale develops the cow pose. Exhaling. And inhaling, right? Each movement, each pose gets a breath. Exhale draws your cat. Inhale draws out your cow pose. One more cat, please. Now meet me in cow pose, because there's some real important key actions here that we want to pull out and take with us through the rest of our practice. So press down through your fingers so that you're not so heavy in your wrists. Really start to use your fingerprints and fingers to place your hands on mat. Your shoulders plug in, right? We're about shoulder stability in cow pose. Collarbones stretch apart gently. The heart space at the front, our chest space opens. Shoulders broaden apart. Those are some really delightful key actions that we don't want to miss. So exhale through your cat. Inhale, come into your cow. One more time. All right, now please have a seat for a moment. I'm still going to stay sideways so you can see better. Sitting up nice and tall vertically. And from vertical, you can peel out a little bit of cat pose here. And some really nice stretches as you roll down. And then you roll back up, pulling out a little bit of cow pose on the up launch of your heart, broadening shoulders. So let's fade back into cat, seated cat, and roll back up into that seated cow variation and feel your heart emerging upward. Again, shoulders broadening apart. Try again. Exhale, cat. Inhale, roll up tall. Little seated cat. One more. Curl in, right? Recoiling into the cat. And then unfurling, heart emerging upward into cow. So those are some really good key actions that we're going to play with. A little bit of cat and a little bit of cow in each of the poses that we practice tonight. That said, let's do a downward dog. I mentioned dogs and cats living in harmony. All right, so we meet on all fours in our tabletop and we're ready to greet all these cute little animals. Exhale into cat, inhale into cow, and then from cow, turning your toes under, scooping your tail upward, leaving a little bend in your knees, downward dog pose. I'm going to rewind back to bend in your knees. Yes, your legs are bendy, but all of the long and strong is in your arms and your spine. And let's hang out in our downward dog for 3 more deep breaths. Allowing your breath to fill you up completely. It's almost like you can feel a little bit of space. The breath whirls between each of the vertebrae in your spine, right? Each link in that spinal chain. There's just a little bit of space there. And you can feel the breath move through the sides of the rib cage, right? Cleaning through every rib. And now, knees to the ground, child's pose, lengthening the spine, tail back. Launch your heart forward slightly, and then the heart heavy, forehead rests. Please take 3 more deeply filling breaths in your child's pose. Really feeling the breath moving through those spaces, throughout the spine and along the ribs. And from child's pose, let's downward dog, right? Develop your downward facing dog. All right, now walk your hands to the back of the mat, my friends. We're going to be forward bent, right? We're hinged at our hips, hands on shin bones, ankles, or ground. Let your head hang down. Now let's slowly roll up to stand up. Mountain pose. Mountain pose is really good posture. Shoulders rolled back. Heart is high. The front face expansive. I want to ask you to close your eyes for a moment in mountain pose. When I'm in a mountain Tadasana, I visualize the front face of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. And the face of that mountain is bold and broad. It expands, forever. It is large. Let the face of your mountain be that broad and expansive and tall, vertically tall for sure. Now reach your arms upward. We're growing taller, adding elevation, arms up, stretching upward evenly through arms, stretching upward evenly through the right and left sides of the spine. And then maybe we flex backwards just a little bit, comfortably. A long, languid stretch. And on your next exhale, let's mimic a swan dive. Swan dive into forward fold again, Uttanasana. Let the crown of your head pour down. Your fingers, your arms feel heavy downward, right? Gravity drawing your upper body down, but your tail flies upward. And that creates a really good stretch through your legs. Now slowly, let's walk our hands, our paws forward, downward facing dog pose again. And now in your downward dog, you are still downward dog pose. The faintest bit of a little bit of cat and a little bit of cow. And that happens in your heart space. You're really focused on thoracically cow, moving through any stickiness in the sides of the rib cage. Do that cat cow in the down dog 2 more times, please. And then let's touch our knees down to ground. Child's pose or extended puppy. Puppy would be bottom up, just a little more raised up than a child's pose, on the heart and chin, little chin stand. Extended puppy pose is going to be more intense of a stretch than child's pose. So choose the one that feels good, please. And take 3 long, deep breaths there. And after this next exhale that you really drain out, downward dog 1 more time, please. Walk your hands back to the back of the mat to forward fold. Okay, let's roll up now to stand up to mountain pose. Tall and broad. Let's grow even taller. Arms up to the sky, inhaling upward. Upward hands pose, Urdhva Hastasana. Maybe you lean back, maybe not, right? What feels good for you? All right, hands to our hips. So we're still mountain pose. Hands at our hip heads, resting. Now, right foot steps forward, and it's as if you're on train tracks in the moment. So we don't want to be on a high wire. Train track feet facing forward, and just feel, notice how my feet are kind of scooching along the mat. I'm finding my foot lock, my Pada Bandha, foot lock. Direction, facing forward, hips, ribs, shoulders. Hip hinges found, folding forward. You could put your hands on your shin bone lightly. If you're particularly flexible, fingers on the ground. And in this moment, if you're feeling stiff in the back of the shoulders, across the chest, put in the faintest bit of cat-cow. That helps you move through any staleness in the back of the shoulders, in the mid-back. Come to the point in this pyramid pose where you feel balanced and breathful, right? You're not kinking off the breath at the hips. Okay, slowly, hands from ground, walk up your front right leg bone to stand up, hands to hips. Now, before we step anywhere else, we're still in our split legs, arms up, Urdhva Hastasana, hands upward. Ooh, we're still balancing. And maybe you lean back gently. We're going to feel some standing abdominal work happening while we're balancing. And we're breathing. Now let your arms fall to your side softly. Now this time, I'm going to step my left foot forward, right foot strides back. So I'm pyramid base again, establishing your footprint, direction, balance and alignment, finding hip hinge to bend forward because this is where our body bends. Hands to shin bone or to ground. Pyramid pose. This is a stretch for the spine, but also for our legs. Our legs are straightening. Our spine is lengthening. Throw a few small cat-cow actions into the spinal body, right? The mid-back, the heart space. And then we'll walk up our left leg bone to stand up again, hands to hips, rebalancing. Arms upward reaching, stretching upward. And perhaps just applying a little bit of lean back. And we breathe, right? Fill your breath in. Fill up your front pockets with your deep breaths. All right, now, hands fall to our sides. Let's step forward. Right foot steps up to meet the left at the front of the mat. Arms reach up to the sky. Swan dive, forward fold. And step back into downward dog. And we pause here in our downward dog shape. Really feel your front paws, traction downward and forward. Have a long breath and a long stretch through your spine. And if you feel really tight anywhere along the spinal chain, particularly in the shoulder blade space, maybe you add that small amount of cat-cow action to move through that stagnancy. Knees to the ground, child's pose or puppy pose, your choice. Discovering our 360-degree filling breath right here. Let's lay out onto our belly. Our belly and our elbows, our Sphinx pose. Lifting the heart upward. Notice right now, did the shoulders start to roll or cave down in? Let's instead lift shoulders up and broaden the shoulder heads apart as you push down through elbows. Notice if there's any stickiness at the front of the rib cage, because you're going to feel that tension as we take our next stretch. Honor your body. Play around with hand placement to find your upward heart face emerging upward. Hands balancing, shoulders plugged in, and your feet behind you are not together. My feet are resting on the sidelines of the mat, the side edges of the mat. They're that far apart. We're creating seal pose. So think of your right and left hands right now. They're your flippers. And you're going to shift a little flipper to flipper to really secure a good stretch, stability in shoulders, and a sense of upward emergence through your heart. And even your nose, your little seal nose is raised upward. Plug in a few deep breaths, please, because that's where the good stretches are. Notice I'm gonna shift my seal because I feel some tension in the front of the rib cage. That movement helps me make better sense out of the posture. I hope allowing yourself a little movement does the same. You can also a little bit cat, a little bit cow, a little bit cat, a little bit cow to help you move through any tension as well, right? It can be a micro cat-cow or more of a macro cat-cow. Slowly lowering to the ground. Slowly, again, mindfully, take your child's pose or extended puppy pose. Over your next 2 deep breaths, be aware of how the breath is moving through the sides of the rib cage space, hopefully you can feel the breath moving along those channels. One more deep breath. And then peel yourself up from that puppy or child's pose and have a seat on your mat. This is how we started. Sitting comfortably on the yoga mat, checking in with our posture. Let's do that again, right? Body check-in time. How's the breath moving now? Hopefully more smoothly. Definitely breath expanding throughout your body more clearly. Let's talk about those mountain poses we did, creating expansion across our chest and shoulders, right? Apply that here. And then balance your head beautifully high above your shoulders. And now let's start to circle spine. That tall spine we created starts to swirl one direction. And there's movement, right? As I lean forward, maybe I do a little bit of cat. There's a little bit of cow as we lean back. There's essences of those poses. And find your range of motion. Now let's smoothly change course. Swirl your circle the other way. Find the essence of cat and cow that live along this swirling action. And then let's meet seated tall, vertically tall. Free your right leg. Right leg extends forward and your left leg stays in. Finding our hip hinge again, leaning in to a degree that feels good, where you're not going to slump or round for it. You're still hip hinging forward. Hands can be again on ground, shin bone. Some people grab their feet. What feels right for you? Notice if there's any tension in the jaw. Soften your jaw. If there's any tension in the chest or shoulders, do a little cat-cow action. But when you finish in the cow phase, where you're broadening, launching the heart upward, forward to help define your hip hinge. All right, let's sit up and change legs. Left leg extends forward. Finding hip hinge to fold forward at that point. Let's breathe and really discover where in this pose feels really good, where we meet the good stretches, where we precisely are still in control of our breath and how the spine is working in the pose. Do you need to apply any small essence of cat-cow to move through any stale space in the shoulders or through the spinal body. And we'll slowly again sit up tall. Both legs come into butterfly, Baddha Konasana. So we're finding that, again, angles in your legs, angles in your legs. And these angles are going to feel pretty good. I'm going to turn my back to you, but you're going to be able to see my legs better. When you lie back, you're going to cross your right leg on the left, right ankle across the left thigh. And then take your right hand and just gently press your right inner thigh away from you, encouraging external rotation, hip opening, shoulders relaxing. Breath is filling. Now let's change legs. Cross the left over the right. Apply your left hand gently to the left inner thigh, pressing thigh away. Anchoring shoulders back as you press thigh gently away. One more long, deep breath. All right, let's change sides again. Same pose. Right leg crosses the left. Right hand to right inner thigh to press gently away. External rotation is lit when we press away. Tail anchors to ground. Shoulders anchor back. And we apply our 360-degree breathing. All right, let's change legs. Left leg crosses the right. Left hand to left inner thigh, gently pressing thigh away. Anchor back through tailbone. Anchor back through shoulders. Breathe deeply. All right, let's release that press to the left thigh. Feet on the ground, arms at our sides. Let's build a bridge pose. So we stand back, retract back through shoulders and arm backs. Middle body lifting. Your front body, your torso, your spinal body feels really long, strong, and rising. And as you play around with your bridge pose for the next few breaths, maybe you stand back a little more deeply through your shoulders and arms. And kind of scoot your shoulders together. And that standing shoulder action helps to prop your body up. Now slowly, I mean really slowly, like link by link, bring your bridge down to the ground, vertebra by vertebra. And then your tail's like the last to touch, and you feel its heaviness. And when your bridge bottoms down, then build another one. Develop another bridge slowly and smoothly. And hold that bridge pose. Excuse me, hold this bridge pose that you're in for 5 deep breaths. Strengthen those pillars, shoulder pillars, foot pillars. And then slowly, vertebra by vertebra, link by link, bring your bridge back down to the ground. Hug your knees to your chest, tuck your knees in, give your tucked in legs a hug. And when you hug your tucked legs, keep your tail ground bound, right? Earthbound tail as you're hugging. Two more deep breaths in your knee to chest pose. Now you're still in knees to chest, but now curl up. Do a little bit of cat action as you curl into a little ball lying there on the ground. And now release. Feet to ground. Bridge pose again. And stand strong in your bridge for 3 more deeply filling breaths. All right, slowly, bridge comes down. And then hug your knees to chest, right? Once your bottom's on the ground, then tuck in your legs, give your legs a hug. Ground, right? Tail is your hug in your legs. And then apply that curl up into a little ball action. So you're getting that cat arching back as you take your balled up, tucked in position. You're still there. 1 more deep breath. And then relax all of your body to the ground. Just lay down. You went from really contraction to relaxation. That's your current action. Relax. Notice if there's tension in your feet. Move them around. Relax your feet evenly. And relax your hips evenly. And then we travel up to our rib cage, where the right and left sides of the rib cage rest evenly. And then let's travel up to our shoulder heads. Let your shoulder heads sleep soundly on the ground in the moment. And your arms follow that relaxation action. But your body is tall and clear as it unfurls across the mat and ground. Now just softly take your right knee to chest pose, right? We lift our heavy right leg and give it a hug. Plug in your tail to ground and let your shoulders relax as you hug right leg. Now, just in the moment, curl up to the right leg, curl up like a little cat. And then release everything. Head, shoulders, leg, back to ground. And then left knee to chest pose, please. Tail heavy as we hug. And then now let's curl up like a little cat as we hug our left leg. And then relax. Left leg, head and shoulders. They drift back to the ground. Again, tuning in to resting along and across the mat and ground surface. May your breaths be deeply filling and actively emptying. As you lie back in this relaxed position on ground, gently turn your head to the right. Your right ear rests on the ground. And as you take your next deep breath, you feel that breath travel very clearly down the left side of the neck and shoulders. Now let's shift our head to the left, right? Left ear towards the mat. And then we take in another deep breath and feel it washing down the right side of the neck and shoulder space. And now shifting your head back to center. Resting heavily on the base of the skull and your tailbone. The other bottom end of the spine is plugged into the ground too. Let's breathe. Breathing into every cell in our body. Allowing yourself to really breathe and feel into any new space that you encountered in your body tonight. Let's not it. Let's keep tapped into our breath and tuned into our bodies. One more deep breath. And then just stretch out through your body. Stretch your arms out or maybe up overhead, but feel the stretch transpire from your toes to your fingertips. And You're awakening your body with this long, languid stretch. And now that you've awakened, please rise back up again to the surface. Let's meet seated. Good job tonight. Thank you so much for coming to another candlelight yoga session. And sleep well. And be more like a cat throughout the week in your body. Take those long cat stretches. Have a good one, you guys.